Amelia Carter couldn't quite process what was happening. One moment, she was standing in the break room of Westbridge Enterprises, and the next, cold water was cascading down her hair, soaking her blouse, jeans, and shoes. Across from her, Bridget Sullivan, the department manager, stood holding the empty pitcher with a sneer of satisfaction. "People like you don't belong here," Bridget hissed, her voice slicing through the silence that had settled across the room. Conversations halted mid-sentence, coffee mugs froze halfway to lips. A room full of colleagues, silent witnesses, yet none daring to intervene. Amelia blinked, feeling the chill seep into her skin, her hands trembling slightly, not from the cold, but from the shock, the sheer audacity of the humiliation. Yet as the icy water trickled down her spine, a fire was kindling deep within her chest. Right there, drenched and humiliated, Amelia made herself a solemn promise. This would not be the end. It would be the beginning. What Bridget and the others didn't know was that Amelia Carter was no ordinary new hire. She wasn't just another face in the crowd. She had come here with a purpose, and she was about to show them just how dangerous it was to underestimate her. The day had started like any other. Amelia arrived early, navigating the maze of glass hallways and polished marble floors that made up the headquarters of Westbridge Enterprises. Her heart pounded with anticipation and a twinge of nerves. She had spent the past 3 months preparing for this moment, immersing herself in the company's culture under a carefully crafted false identity. Only a handful of people knew the truth. Amelia Carter was the daughter of Thomas Carter, the founder and chairman of Westbridge Enterprises. And though she had earned an MBA from Stanford, launched 2 successful startups, and consulted for Fortune 500 companies abroad, her father had tasked her with an unorthodox mission: to work undercover in the marketing department to investigate rumors of a toxic, discriminatory work environment. It had started with whispers, anonymous complaints, high turnover rates, exit interviews hinting at hostile management practices, microaggressions, favoritism. Thomas Carter, a self-made entrepreneur who prided himself on building a company based on fairness and innovation, had been devastated. He knew that if such rot had crept into his organization, it had to be rooted out. But he needed undeniable proof. And so, Amelia had agreed to become Amelia Dawson, an ordinary applicant with an unremarkable resume, someone easy to overlook. The transformation had been complete. She traded her designer suits for off-the-rack office wear, muted her confident tone, and crafted a backstory that placed her far from the boardrooms and corner offices she was accustomed to. The moment she stepped into Westbridge under her alias, she was no longer Thomas Carter's daughter. She was just another entry-level employee, vulnerable and unseen. From the start, the atmosphere had been different than she expected. The building itself was gleaming and modern, but beneath the surface, a different energy pulsed, a coldness, a simmering tension. Bridget Sullivan, the marketing department head, embodied the worst of it. From the first day, her disdain for Amelia was palpable. She offered no guidance, only sneers. Amelia was assigned the worst desk, a cramped cubicle near the service elevator, and an ancient computer that crashed twice a day. Meanwhile, other new hires like Trevor and Lauren were welcomed with bright smiles, brand new equipment, and invitations to after-hours happy hours. Amelia was treated like an afterthought, an inconvenience. Her direct supervisor, a wiry man named Ethan Marsh, seemed determined to make her life difficult. Her first assignment, a report on emerging markets, was due in an impossible time frame, with outdated data and no access to internal resources. When she presented it, Ethan laughed openly in front of the team, calling her work embarrassingly naive. Amelia endured it all with a stoicism she didn't know she possessed. Every insult, every snub, every demeaning glance, she absorbed it, cataloged it. She watched how certain employees were groomed for leadership while others, often women and minorities, were systematically sidelined. But nothing compared to the day of the water pitcher. It was meant to be the final humiliation, the ultimate message: you are not welcome here. As Amelia left the break room, water dripping from her soaked clothes onto the marble floor, she did not cry. She did not scream. She walked with measured steps to the restroom, ignoring the curious stares and muffled laughter that followed her. Inside the restroom, she faced her reflection. Her blouse clung to her frame, her hair plastered against her cheeks. For a moment, a crack threatened to form in her resolve. But then, slowly, her expression hardened. She pulled out her phone and called her father. "Dad," she whispered, her voice tight but unwavering. "It's worse than we thought." The next morning, the sun rose over Westbridge Enterprises just like any other day, but everything inside was about to change. At exactly 9 o'clock, Amelia walked through the main entrance, no longer disguised, no longer hiding. She wore a tailored navy suit, her hair swept back into a sleek chignon, and a small, resolute smile curved her lips. Flanking her were two senior board members and the company's lead counsel. The receptionist, who had barely glanced at her before, now gawked openly. The announcement had been sent to all staff at 8:45 a.m. Amelia Carter had been appointed interim CEO, effective immediately. Bridget Sullivan was in the middle of a department meeting when Amelia entered the conference room. Conversations died mid-sentence. Coffee cups were set down with trembling hands. Amelia stepped to the head of the long oak table. She let the silence stretch, letting everyone feel the weight of the moment. "Good morning," she said evenly. "Some of you may know me as Amelia Dawson." That was a necessary deception. The color drained from Bridget's face. Ethan stared at his lap. Amelia continued, her voice calm and commanding. "Over the past month, I have witnessed firsthand the environment you have cultivated, the discrimination, the bullying, the abuse of power. I have documented every incident, recorded every slight, collected every complaint." She turned toward Bridget and Ethan. "Your time at Westbridge is over." The lead counsel stepped forward, handing both of them termination letters. Security was already waiting at the door. Neither Bridget nor Ethan protested. They knew there was no point. But Amelia wasn't finished. She addressed the room at large. "We are going to rebuild this company from the inside out. Effective today, there will be a full internal audit. Anonymous reporting channels have been established. Promotions and leadership roles will be evaluated and restructured based on merit, not favoritism. There will be mandatory training on diversity, equity, and inclusion." The atmosphere shifted. Some employees looked skeptical. Others looked relieved. Over the next few months, Amelia led Westbridge Enterprises through the most significant transformation in its history. Toxic managers were removed. Salaries were rebalanced. Mentorship programs were established to support underrepresented employees. Complaints dropped. Retention rates improved. Amelia worked tirelessly, driven not by vengeance, but by a fierce determination to honor the ideals her father had once envisioned. There were challenges, of course. Resistance from some quarters. Skepticism from the press. But Amelia met every obstacle head-on, armed with data, integrity, and an unshakable sense of purpose. In time, Westbridge's reputation shifted. It became known not just for its products, but for its principles. Employee satisfaction surveys reached record highs. Applications from talented individuals across the country flooded in. As she walked through the now bright halls of Westbridge Enterprises, Amelia knew the journey had been worth it. Standing before a newly hired group of interns one crisp autumn morning, Amelia shared her story, not the sanitized version, but the real one. About being underestimated, about standing soaked and humiliated in a break room, and about the choice she made to fight not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been made to feel small. "Injustice thrives in silence," she said, her voice steady. "But so does change when someone has the courage to speak." And with that, Amelia Carter turned and walked forward, a living testament to the fact that sometimes, the best way to fight back is to rise higher than anyone ever thought possible.